Hello everyone, my name is Phawx. In this particular video we're going to be taking a look at Xbox Cloud Streaming, their XCloud initiative. I have Game Pass Ultimate, so I already have XCloud. However, I was invited to the beta program for it, so that's what I'm going to be showing you off here on these two particular devices. Unfortunately, because I am effectively running these games in a browser, I'm not able to actually show you any of the traditional HUD that you would normally see. So I have this little Xbox widget up here that you can just clearly see like a CPU and GPU usage. The little brief hiccup that you just heard is obviously because of network issues, but for the most part on the Win 3 there's very little problems that happen. Now there are a few things to make note of here, and this video won't be very long in and of itself. Latency wise everything is fine, and also with regard to both the Win 3 and the Aya Neo, they have relatively low resolution screens, which is better for on-device rendering, because obviously if they were higher resolution, the lower end parts that are on here can't really render that well at a high frame rate at higher resolutions. So they're doing xCloud streaming, GeForce Now, you are not getting the best benefit out of that. So here I am loading and running Fallout 4. Now I did play this a little bit. It was included in Xbox Game Pass. I never owned Fallout 4 on Xbox. I do own it on PC. But Game Pass is legitimately a really cool service. Now there is one thing that I like about this particular test is with all of these alias lines that are going on, when encoding in real time and then sending to this device, it can be a little bit difficult. So if we kind of zoom in here and kind of just move around, typically in transcoding there are artifacting some transcoded blocks that you'd see, but for the most part it's not really evident. So whatever they're doing to dynamically oh, I'm getting radiated. Radiation, run away. Whatever they're doing to dynamically on the fly render this stuff and then send to the device, I'm not getting a tremendous amount of any particular artifacting. Also, outside of the initial hiccup that was present when I first started playing, this has been pretty straightforward. The only other thing that we're going to review here in this particular video is power usage. So I'm just going to play for a little bit, and then we're going to go ahead and take a look at average total power usage from the battery, so you can get an idea of how long you'd be able to stream on the GPD Win 3 and the Aya Neo. The other nice thing about this is that with xCloud, and this is more of an Xbox feature itself, is that when you're playing on the Xbox Series X, Xbox One X, any one of the Xbox One series of consoles, when you save the game, it actually saves it to the cloud, and then xCloud itself will load from those saves. So there is a very heterogeneous, is that the right word? There is a universal saving system that doesn't require any user input whatsoever, and it's actually super nice for what it's worth. I still don't think streaming is... You can almost see it, like right there. Look at, we can actually kind of detect. Let's get this in focus. You see it? You see it building that image? If you see how noisy it is with all this grass and all this alias lines, you can clearly see that it takes a brief moment for the encoding to kind of just catch up for when we have a still frame for the higher resolution, less artifacting screen to kind of show up. I would anticipate that, well, in any game you have snow effects or any type of thing with lots of little flurries. They started doing that in the previous generation, where you'd have fire effects and little embers and stuff. Those types of things are actually quite difficult to encode and will make things a little bit worse. I actually like this particular segment just because it's a really difficult segment to actually encode well. Types of games that will work better on xCloud or even GeForce Now, any of them, because of the nature of the very fast encoding, will be static screens or something that doesn't have a lot of little lines or snowy effects in them. Anywho, let's go ahead and take a look. If you've been noticing that we've been using very little power here. Obviously, I'm not rendering this game in real time. It's streaming to me. But let's go ahead and take a look at the power usage while not getting irradiated. So now the thing is that I am technically in a browser right now. So I'm just going to click escape. I'm going to go back to mouse mode here. And I'll get my mouse back. I'm going to go ahead and just close this, say xCloud. I'm stopping here. Yes, please. And we'll go ahead and load up hardware info, and let's take a look at the charge rate, and we'll take a look at the average charge rate. So from playing that for a little bit, you can see that our current charge rate is 7 watt. When we first started, it was like around 10 watt, but the average charge rate is 9.64 watt. So at that rate, we have about 5 hours of battery life on the GPD Win 3, and that's going to fluctuate based on different things. You could tweak your Wi-Fi settings, you can tweak a lot of different things, but anticipate between 5 to 6 hours of gameplay when streaming on this particular console. We're going to go ahead and close up the Win 3 and take a look at the INEO itself. Alrighty, so I just loaded up on the INEO, and unfortunately there is a bit more latency on the INEO. All right. So this is much better. So the only thing that I did here was that I had both the GPD Win 3 and this INEO connected to my mesh access points. For whatever reason, having the INEO connected to that mesh access point was not ideal. I have it direct connected to a simpler access point, but the connection is far better here. So this is one thing to be mindful of when you're using these devices. Obviously, this is cloud-based stuff, so you are streaming to this device. You're going to want to make sure that you have the best service possible with the least path of resistance towards everything. Any type of other systems that will help, double NAT your network, you're going to want to avoid those types of things and try to really flatten how it gets out, or even just have it escape relatively easily. But this is far better. Now we can also take a look at, all of these like branches and stuff. Like, yeah, you see this? Like how noisy this is. This particular segment right here is really going to start juicing how much bandwidth you need. And I just heard like a little bit of crackling. If we get in a little bit closer to this, apologies for my studio lights here. But if we just move around, it can be easy to, let me get in here a little bit. Really impressive. It's not too noisy, encodes really fast, and overall quality is pretty good. Anyway, you can see that my CPU and GPU usage is still really low. Obviously, I'm not rendering the game natively itself, but it is showing here at a 16 by 9 resolution, not a 16 by 10 resolution, but that's still fine. You can see that we're chopping off a little here and here, but that's still okay. I'm going to kind of end off this video right here just so you can kind of see that streaming is working. It's fine. And just kind of take a look at it from a battery perspective, and also from looking at it from the perspective of what you need in terms of reliable bandwidth, as well as having a good connection to your access point. So I think that's really worthwhile. So right now you can see total system power is at like 5 watt. Average power right here that you can see right there is just the same as the GPD Win 3. So you're looking at 5 to 6 hours of battery life, regardless of whatever device you're looking at. If you're looking at the GPD Win 3 or the INEO, regardless of both, they're both going to have pretty much the exact same battery life when it comes to streaming, which makes sense, right? Because it's barely doing anything. It's really just a toaster can run this stuff. So both of these are at their lowest power state. So you have the display, Wi-Fi, SSD, other things that are going to be running that are consuming power the most, really. And that's pretty much it. So anticipate 5 to 6 hours of game streaming from both of these devices. This has been a look at streaming on the GPD Win 3 and the INEO. I chose XCloud in this instance, but GeForce Now and other streaming devices, types of services will be quite similar. That's it. As always, guys, thank you for your time, and thanks for watching.